Hello everybody. Hello, is someone there already? I don't see too much right now. Give me a second to set everything up and then I'll be right there. Which seems to work. Alright. Hello everybody, how's everybody doing? Brazilian, hey. Nice cup of tea, mate. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know, it's from Starbucks. Don't know. My roommates got this cup and I really like it because it's really big. Thanks for joining the Discord, by the way, and the Patreon. And if there's anything that you're working on, feel free to share it in the channels. Yeah, that's what the channels are for. So welcome and thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. All right. Yeah, maybe as a heads up or as a general overview for today. In the last stream, I started with the rendering process. I finished all the texture baking and the preparations for the rendering. And I stumbled upon a shading error, I would say, on stream on Sunday. And this is where I stopped because I wanted to troubleshoot it offline. And the reason why the displacement maps weren't working there was because the scaling in Maya was a different one than I had in Blender and Zbrush. So I had to adjust the scaling in Maya to the final size that I wanted, bake down the transformations, and then I re-imported the adjusted low poly models into ZBrush again to have the sizes match up in both programs. And this is the reason, or this was crucial for the baking for the displacement maps. Otherwise I would have had to increase the scale or height factors in Maya in the render, and yeah, this was just that would have been a sloppy workaround, and so I wanted to do it correct and rebaked all the texture maps and the displacement maps especially and brought them back into Maya, and then it worked finally. So chaps, hi, how long did it take in total? In total, not quite sure, it's really hard to say. I have around a bit over 20-25 streams on this study here. So 25 times 3 or 4, and then a little bit on the side as well. So this is, let me quickly, like 80-90 hours in total. Maybe a bit more, not quite sure. But it's all recorded, so yeah. So yeah, as you can see, I have a few views rendered already. I rendered them quite large, as you can see. This is the full resolution, and each render took about an hour for me, like 50 minutes to an hour. I'm rendering on my laptop, and it's not the most powerful render machine in the world, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt, all the render times. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I will do a few more views along the way. Probably by the end of this week I will have all of the views done that I wanted to do, and then from the rendering side this is completed and ready to put into the portfolio. So yeah, I can just quickly go over the renderings here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of detail in there, and I think increasing the contrast in the poly painting helped to make the details pop a little bit more as well. And yeah, I'm quite happy how it turned out in the end. It was quite a long journey till now. So yeah, as a comparison, just as an overview, or just as a clarification, this was done in Maya with Arnold, and I did a few test renderings in the beginning where I did it in Blender. And if I go back, these are just a few other iterations of the rendering. This one here I did in Blender, and I actually like the effect that I got with the subsurface scattering here. But when I go back a few iterations earlier, this was the rendering that I achieved with Blender, and you can see that there was something wrong with the subsurface scattering in the areas where geometry intersected. So I did the same rendering in Maya and it came out much cleaner, and this is why I decided to do the final renderings in Maya and Arnold. And I wrote a ticket to the Blender website, and I think they're on it, but I'm not quite sure. So thanks, Brazilian Dutchy. Yeah, there are a bunch of nice people there. I agree with that. And I stumbled upon a few of these issues in Maya as well, but they were much more subtle. So when I zoom in here, for example, or let's go to the final rendering. You can see here on the kneecaps, there are slightly darker edges there as well, but they're not that noticeable, I found at least, than in Blender. And there are a few darker spots here on the forehead and where the meshes were extremely thin, but for me it was still okay. It was not too much that I would say I don't want to do it in Maya. And yeah, other than that, I think the rendering came out very clean. There is no post-processing on this one, and I did the rendering for the skeleton. I still have to do like a 3/4 view of the skeleton, and then I have the same. I can have the same compilation as this one here, and then you could toggle back and forth between the skeleton version and the muscle version. So, and I wanted to do a few closer shots as well, just to show the entire model more in detail. And that's it for the rendering side. I can now go into Maya just to show all of you the rendering setup. And for the full body shots, I did a vertical resolution, so 9020 by 3840, and this way I don't have to render so much empty space and get a higher resolution this way. So when I jump into the perspective view, you can see that it's fairly straightforward. Hey Stevens, how are you doing? Just talking over the talking about the render setup here. Don't know if you've seen them, but these are the final renderings. Finally, I managed to get the displacement maps working. The scale wasn't the same in ZBrush and Maya, and this way the displacement map was way too low, or the effect was too subtle. but I fixed it offline and start with the rendering. So maybe I will do a bit of color adjustment and hue variation adjustment on the final renderings. Maybe I think I want to try out if the red can be a bit more saturated and a bit darker for the muscles. Right now it goes a little bit into the orange side. But even as it is right now, I think it's gonna be a good addition to my portfolio. So, Coronado Film, hey. What's up, man? Odon, hello, good to see you. Got it working. Thanks. Yeah, it was quite the hustle. Just troubleshooting, and I thought the scale wouldn't make that big of a difference, but it did. And then I reworked everything again and made sure that both programs had the same size. So both in ZBrush and in Maya it was the same. And this way I got a consistent result. Steven's looking great. Seems you could sell this model as an anatomy reference. I'm actually thinking about making it available for personal use, and I will publish the different views as well. So if anyone wants to do a study like this, they can definitely use that as a base or reference or inspiration. Hopefully it comes to you or someone gets some use out of it. And maybe there are people that want to use it for commercial purposes as well. I might sell that for commercial use as well. I mean, it's, like I said, like 2-3 weeks worth of work. And if someone can save that in their production, maybe it's beneficial for them if it suits their needs. So, all right. And this is a fairly simple rendering setup that I had here. Maybe let me pull up PureRef just to have the final rendering on the side as well. Let's see. This one here. I will just put that here as a comparison. So, and there is no HDRI in this scene. It's purely lit by the area lights, and I only used area lights for this one. And there's a very large fill light here on the side, and I made it thinner so that the fall off of the shadow on this side here is a bit harsher, that it's not extremely soft and isn't washing out the details like here. If I would have scaled the area light really wide, then it would light up these details here much more evenly, and this would lose a few details. And what I really like to do when I'm using spotlights or lights as a spot, I do two area lights, one softer light that is a bit bigger and one smaller light that gives these sharper specular highlights. So I would get highlights like these, and then it's not like a uniform highlight on the mesh, but it has a hot spot in there as well. And I found that it looks much more natural this way. Sudipta, hello sir, how are you? Remember me? I'm Sudipta, not Sudipta. After a few days. Sudipta, yeah, I do remember you. Thanks for joining again. Yeah, we're about to, like, I think by the end of this week, this series will be over. The only thing left now is just to do the preparations for the printing. I want to print that model out as a figurine that I can put on my table, and then I will call this project done and move on to the next one. And I already have a few plans for the next project, and yeah, hopefully it will be as fun as this one. So, no faults. Hello to you as well. Alright, so for the different views I also created individual cameras so that I could go back to the same view even when I'm making changes, and it's easier to have a stationary camera because this way you can objectively judge what changes really, how do you say that? If you make changes, what the difference really is. If you do renderings from different views all the time, then it's really hard to compare the differences. Odan, sorry, not trying to be harsh, but are there muscle tendons in the feet of the model? Also, I assume you're using neutral white lights with no color temperature value, correct? Yes. I do use white lights, and you're right, there are a few muscles missing in the feet, but yeah, I won't add them anymore. Not quite sure why I didn't do it, but it felt like I was pushing or pulling out the project for far too long, and yeah, no real good reasons why I didn't add them. It's just that I overlooked them for too long and then hesitated to put them in once I noticed. So yeah, every project has its, what do you say, things to improve, but yeah, I just decided I wanted to finish this project instead of pushing it too far. So Brazilian Dutchie, any ideas for what you're gonna make next? Do you have multiple projects at the same time? I do have multiple projects at the same time, most of the time. Sometimes the projects become so big that I just want to finish these. But right now I'm working on a realistic portrait on the side, and yeah, I'm doing studies as well regularly, like skull studies and speed sculpts sometimes. And especially if I have multiple longer projects, I like to do a few shorter speed sculpts from time to time, just to get a change of pace and yeah, get a, I don't know, reward, instant gratification, something like that, to give a motivational boost or motivation boost. So Brazilian Dutchie, I would go crazy if I do only one thing for a month. Yeah, me too. I really like to have a variety of things to focus on, and not burn down or burn down? Get a burnout from one. So, hey Michael, no, not that late, don't worry. I just talked about the lighting setup a little bit and showed the final renderings. So yeah, you've seen them on the Discord already. So there was a mistake or a bug last stream, and I fixed it by scaling the both models to the same scale in Zbrush and Maya, and this way the displacement maps worked out correctly. Before that it was too subtle because I scaled up the model in Maya up quite a bit, and this way the effect was too little, and I thought the displacement map wasn't working, but it was just too subtle to see, and I had to increase the scale. But I wanted to do it correctly, and this is why I matched up the scale in Zbrush as well. So Deepta, sir, if you don't mind, am I request a thing? Sir, please. I mean, this is a stream for you to ask questions. Feel free to ask for anything, and then I can judge if I can help you or not. And most of the time, I think I can say a few things, but feel free. If it's about the music or anything like that, I'm free or I'm open to any suggestions if there are options out there to change stuff. But yeah. Yeah, back to the lighting setup. Like I said, no HDRI, only area lights, and my aim was to bring out the form as much as possible. And before that, before I decided on this lighting setup, I did a very top-heavy lighting, so just a huge area light on top with a few spots. You can see here that I added a few area lights on top just to get more highlights going, but it got too dark to the I mean, I like the gradient, but a friend of mine suggested to change the lighting setup a little bit, bringing it more to the side, the big one, to get more shadow on one side, and I think it was the right decision. So tested out a few things here, and I think it still works. It's just not as dramatic as this lighting. The render texture was the one who made with Polypaint and Zbrush, or other ones? The texturing was only the Polypaint that I did in Zbrush, so no additional texturing was done other than that. So, and yeah, there's really not that much to say here. I added this backdrop here with a curve. It's a classic studio setup, nothing too fancy. And regarding the sampling of this one, very straightforward, like 4 camera samples, like total general samples, and 3 on the subsurface scattering, because the bones as well as the muscles had subsurface scattering going on, and this is why I increased those steps as well. But no crazy settings there. And maybe we can take a look at the shaders. So, attribute editor, skull, and let me open Hypersheet. Alright. So, let me make it full screen. So this was the shader for the muscles of the head, and it's fairly straightforward. I have a AI standard surface material where I connected a displacement shader in there, like it is. If you hit tab and type in displacement, you can create a displacement shader, delete the shader engine, and plug it into the displacement shader there. And then I went into the displacement setting here, clicked on the checkerboard and added a file. And this is where I piped in my displacement map. And one thing that I always have to check is that I don't connect the alpha of the texture to the displacement, but instead one of the color channels, and I always go with the art channel. And this is because I created a texture map and not an alpha map in Zbrush, and it bakes down an RGB value, especially if I enable the 3 channels in Zbrush. If I only have one channel there, then it's the red channel and not the alpha. So if nothing is showing up, or if it blows up completely in the rendering, make sure that the correct channel is piped into the displacement slot. Oh darn, I'm just watching while I replace my furnace at home, so I probably won't interrupt too much. I'm liking the final render. I wanted to ask, what else are you trying to do before you feel it's finished? Thanks. Not too much, actually. I think I'm at a point where we'll just do a few more angles and maybe a bit of color correction, and I don't know, maybe adding like a stand for the model to stand on, and not that flat ground here. But other than that, I would say that I'm done with this model from the rendering side. So I won't add any more texturing or shading or details in Zbrush. So I think that's it. I could push it further. I could spend more time in, I don't know, getting a bit more variety in the polypaint there, or creating masks for the roughness maps, and I don't know, creating proper eyes to replace the gray balls that I have in there right now, or bring the model into a pose. But it's been quite a while already, and I just want to bring it to a level where I think I can let it go. Let's put it that way. So I feel like I'm at a point now with this model where it feels good, where I like the result, where I think it's a worthy replacement for an older portfolio piece, and I think it's even at a point where I can put it out as reference for other people, and then move on to the next one. Better finished than perfect, and I think it's about time that it's finished. So, right on. Maybe it's something you could come and revisit after a few months or a year for another project. Yeah, maybe I can come back to that model in the future. I mean, I want to print out a figurine of it, so this is what I will start today. I want to combine the things to make it ready for printing, and then I have it on my shelf to use as a reference if I need it. And maybe I will do another one like this in the future as well, just to maintain or brush up my anatomy knowledge again after a few years. So the last one I did 4 years ago, and before that it was 2 years prior to that, and maybe in a few years I will do another one. Then we can see how far it progressed from this one. So the only maps I can do with ZBrush are diffuse map and normal map, who's auto-generated at the mesh export. What you can do is, let me open ZBrush here. Brazil and Dutchy do a comparison. Good idea. I think I will pull up the last study that I did next. So, all right, what you can do, you need to export the displacement maps and other maps that you want, is you can go to Z plugin. It's a menu here on top, and go to multimap exporter, and there you have all the different maps that you can bake, and everything that is toggled here will be exported and baked when you click on create all maps. And you can either switch between subtools or individual ones, so everything that's visible or only the selected one. And yeah, merge maps is when you have multiple objects that share the same UV tile. You can hit merge maps and then it will combine everything into one map. If it isn't toggled, then you export one map for each object. So, Will, what am I watching? I'm gonna fail. It's censored. Oh, only in Zbrush, not on the rendering. So, I mean, whatever floats your boat, I would say. But yeah, and when it comes to the displacement map, I would say go to the export options, and under displacement hit the smooth UVs, 3 channels, 32-bit and EXR, as well as setting the midpoint to 0, and then you have the right, all the same settings that I used. So, all right, and just to finish the shading setup here, so I do have a simple connection here for the, come on, a simple connection in the shader tree, just a displacement shader with the displacement map, where I made sure that the color is piped into the displacement, and my texture map going to the base color as well as the subsurface color. So when it comes to the subsurface settings, let me go down here, subsurface. Didn't change too much here on the speculars. I set the roughness to 0.45. I left everything else the same, but the roughness map really depends on your level of detail. If you're going for a more stylized look that has smoother surfaces, you would probably need a higher roughness value. But if you have a really realistic surface with all the skin details, you can have more reflection because the details will break up the highlights there. Santiago, are you using UVs to put the texture? Yes, all the models here do have UVs. They were auto-generated in Zbrush using the UV master, but since I don't do any additional texturing on top of it, other than the polypaint that I did in Zbrush, I didn't worry about too much about like a clean layout and stuff like that. And it's still decent. I made sure that the cuts didn't go through the important areas, like right through the middle of the face, but more on the back side. But yeah, everything has UVs. And so the roughness map, I didn't use the map for that. You could paint one to bring out the details even more, or add, I don't know, variations in the specular highlights, but I didn't do that in this case. And for the subsurface scattering, I always like to put the weight on 1 to have that as a constant, and then play with the radius and the scale. This is the only thing that I play with. As I said, the texture is piped into the subsurface color. And what the radius is doing, it says what color is penetrating the surface the most. So the most, or the color that goes the deepest into the object in this case is the R value. The green value is a little bit less, or quite a bit less, but still like in the middle. And then the blue will penetrate the surface the least. And what this gives us as a result is a slightly saturated, where can I see it? Here. Is a saturated red subsurface effect. And if you would change it to that blue, for example, is penetrating the surface the most, then you would get a blue effect here as well. So the radius is really defining a lot. And the value here as well is saying how it's like it sets the amount that is going through the object. If I would go to a darker region, then I would make the effect less. But I don't dial it down in here. I dial it down with the scale factor here. I find that it gives me much more control. So the scale factor is like a multiplier. And you can see that I have quite a low number because I wanted to have a subtle effect here. And it takes a little bit of trial and error because the stronger effect of subsurface scattering I get, the less details will show up. But the higher, and it gives a more waxy look. So I'm not quite sure. Let me see. Maybe I have a few ones where it was more prominent. No, I didn't saved out the render tests, unfortunately. But let me jump back to this one. So if I would increase the radius for example, I would get a much brighter subsurface scattering spot in this area here. And on the other hand, it would wash out the details that I have here. It would become just smoother. And in the beginning, what I also had is I had the subsurface scattering effect set so high that everything was washed out, and I thought that the displacement map wasn't working. So I had to decrease the scale before I could judge the displacement map properly, like decreasing the scaling of the subsurface scattering effect. And that is it. I set the type to random walk, tried out random walk version 2 as well, and I didn't notice that big of a difference. You can probably, and I think I did on a few as well. On this one here I used random walk v2. I was just troubleshooting a little bit. And that's it, rendering wise. So, are there any questions, if any? Goswer? Not quite sure how to pronounce that. Hello, say you are using a graphics tablet. Yes, I do. And if you type in, let's see, I hope it works. The chatbot is kind of annoying because it sometimes works and sometimes not. I use a Huon tablet. There you go. Michael, some of the settings are different in Blender, but I think most of those are there. I'll have to play around. Let me actually open Blender and then I can show you the settings that I used for this rendering here. And as you said, the the settings are a bit different. And I think there isn't a multiplier there, so that's a bit annoying. Let's go to shading. Alright. Let's hide the skull or the muscles. Rendering in this one. And let's see if we can go to the rendering. I don't have a displacement map connected, but you can see the subsurface scattering effect here. So when I click on it, I do have the texturing for the texture map. I have it in subsurface color and the base color. Let me zoom in closer. And I think this subsurface setting is like the overall multiplier. Let's put it to 1. You can see that it just increases the entire effect, so the radius got much bigger, and I used it to dial it into the radius that I wanted. But for the color, for the radius, I plugged in an RGB node there. So before that it was a bit finicky by typing in these numbers here, so I found it much easier to just pipe in a RGB node there, and then I set the kind of orange color here, and by changing the value slider here on the side, it creates the same effect as the subsurface slider here. So, and I think, let me see, did I change anything else? Feels like there are less options there as in Arnold, but you can get really good results with it. And the difference here, like Christensen and Burley, this is the standard one, and I go with the random walk. I think it gives more accurate results, especially in thinner areas. But other than that, there isn't too much to it, I would say. The same here, roughness, I changed a little bit, and the specular. But yeah, pretty straightforward, I would say. Is there anything else? What I like to do sometimes is to get another layer of clear coat on top, where I would get a really I don't have a harsh light at the moment. Otherwise I would sometimes add a slight clear coat there to give a little bit of hot spots there. So you're welcome, Michael. Hope it helped a little bit. But yeah, that's it so far for the shader and the lighting. As I said, pretty straightforward. Val A. Dang, I'm late to the session, so are there separate videos of anatomy study in your channel or on Patreon, or are you doing some kind of study? This is like the wrapping up of the anatomy series that I did over the last months. and this is like the result. So on Sunday I did the rendering, or I started the rendering and shading process and finished it offline, and now I'm just talking about what I did in the last days. And the videos are all available on my Patreon page. It's like the live stream archive. During the live streams it's available to everyone, but the recordings I make available through there. So there are around 25 videos just on this study, going through all of the different stages and going through my anatomy library that I collected along the way. So I do have like skeleton and all the muscles, and I have a few fat beds here as well. And this is all available through Patreon as well. So if anyone wants to follow the same project, want to do their own study, I think this is a good heads up, or a good, how do you say that, kickstart to dive into your own anatomy study. And the only thing left now, despite rendering a few more views, is to prepare the model for printing, because I want to print it out similar to this anatomy study that I have from 3D Total, and then it's time for the next project. So I just saw that the lighting is a bit off. Yeah, feels like the webcam is a bit green today. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad. Thank you. Hey Fynn, did you become Hindu? No, I just had something, a little spot there that I had removed a few days ago, so it's still healing. But after that, hopefully there isn't anything left there. All right. I would say this is it for from the rendering side. If there are any questions regarding the rendering or the lighting setup or shading, please feel free to ask. If there aren't any questions, I think I will move on to preparing everything for the print. Thank you, no problem. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty apparent or obvious that there is something, and I'm actually surprised that it took so long for someone to ask, because I had it on Sunday as well. So thanks for asking. Now it's now it has been asked. All right. Michael, what scale do you plan on printing? I hope I can get this size here as well. That would be really awesome. I have to cut it into a few pieces when I want to do it on this scale. Probably I have to slice it around the legs so that the legs are separate, and probably the arms as well, so that I have a torso, the individual arms and legs, and depending on how good I can add supports, maybe I will cut off the head as well. But this scale, that would be really cool. Then it's just not too small to see all the details, and hopefully it will show all the details pretty well. But as you can see, even on this scale, the arm is loose. The head is quite small actually. But still, I found this to be a really good size. All right. if there aren't any questions, then I think I will dive back into Zbrush, my beloved program, and maybe we can leave the final render here just because we have it. And let's get into the model. As you can see, it has quite a lot of points there, so it's a bit slower. So, Sculpture Revive, hey, glad you made it. Thanks for joining again. I just talked about the shading and lighting setup and a little bit about how I approach the subsurface scattering effect. So now it's time for starting with the preparation for printing. So yeah, thank you. Wait, what was a skull but you added subsurface scatter and it was skin color subscatter? No, actually for the bones I used more of a pale yellow. Let me bring it up. This was an older one. And this is the final rendering. So you can see probably here that there's a slight yellowish tint to it. It's very subtle. I didn't want to add a very saturated subsurface color there because it doesn't feel natural. But I wanted to add a slight subsurface scattering just to, I don't know, I really like the effect and I think it looks cool. Emra, can these models be printed on the printer? This is my next step that I'm doing. I want to prepare it so I can print it on my resin printer. Sculpture Revive, this render behind your camera. This is render behind your camera. I'm not quite sure what you mean by it. Thank you, damn, that looks crazy good for a Blender render. You should make complete rendering lighting tutorial. I mean, these ones were rendered in Arnold, but let me scroll back. This one was rendered in Blender, and I explained it a bit earlier. It's actually pretty straightforward. It's just one big area light on top, and the rendering and like the shading setup that I showed before, and that's it, basically. But maybe there is a tutorial on my list where I want to talk about the ZBrush Blender workflow, how to export all the displacement maps and texture maps and pipe it into Blender to get a result like this. Or, I mean, this render here I did in Blender as well, and it works on the same principles. So, yeah, I think I will do that next, probably, for a tutorial. So, I don't want to make any promises. Let's see how it comes. But, yeah. Alright, there are a few versions of models that I would like to have. So I want to have a print of the model just as it is right here, and at least one print of the skeleton. So just this here, without the blocks, of course. And so at least these two versions I want to have. Just thinking out loud right now. Thank you. Have you tried Octane for Blender? No, I haven't. Emra, can the model be animated? it could be rigged and animated, but there would be a little bit more work needed for that. The low poly version right now is a bit too dense. It has, I think, around 500,000 polygons for all the models, so it's a bit too heavy for that. Alright, so not the eyes. I want to have all of that here. And I think what I'm gonna do for that is to clone the entire thing here, everything that I want to have. So, and insert the spine and insert the skull. All right, and since it's gonna be printed, I want to decimate everything down. And this will probably take a little bit of time, so if there are any questions, now it's a good time to ask them, because this will be just waiting for the operations to finish. And my plan right now is to fuse everything together so that there aren't any gaps between the bones anymore. And at a few points I think I want to pose it a little bit different as well. For example, the fingers, that they're closer together so they touch, hopefully. And this way it's just much more stable and I don't get like really fragile fingers that easily break off, but more of a solid hand, for example, and the same with the feet as well. And I will add I think a cylinder along the spine just to fill the gaps between the different vertebrae, and just in general fill all the gaps as much as possible. Thank you. If I buy your stream video on demand on Patreon and play them during my sleep, will I gain your skill? Probably. It's worth a try, I would say. Emerald, I guess at this rate I'll be a skull collector. Alright. I mean, there are 44 million points right now, so it will take a little bit. Operation completed. Yeah, it took almost 2 minutes. Let's decimate it down to, let's say, 6%. Kill the undo history. And loses all the poly painting, but that's fine. I don't have to keep the poly paint for this one. You can see it was 6 million polygons before that, and now it's like 380,000 points, and it kept all the details. So let's actually do it on pre-process all. And this will take a little bit longer as well. So all right. Thank you. Who are your favorite artists? I never had a favorite artist. Even when it comes to music, there isn't anything that I'm obsessed about. There, I really like a variety of artists, and it ranges from painters, drawers, concept artists, modelers, sculptors, I mean, even good bakers are artists. I don't know. There's so much inspiration found everywhere. So when it comes to artists, I mean, there are the top artists out there, like Raphael Grassetti for sculpting, Craig Mullins for painting. Then there are a few concept artists that I really like, a few teachers on YouTube as well, like Ahmed Aldouri, Cynics, Modern Day James is really cool, Ethan Baker, Marco Bucci, Proco, just so many artists out there. Sculpture Revive, how to model in Zbrush, which tool Z-modeler I used, Blender, and then gave the base for the Zbrush. You can use a base mesh that you created somewhere else in Zbrush, that's totally fine. If not, usually I start out with Dynamesh and then do a zero mesher somewhere along the line. Thanks, Emra. Thank you, I want to see your drawings. I think I will stream drawing stuff as well in the future. I'm thinking about doing like a, I don't know, a morning stream early in the morning where I'm doing drawing exercises. Not so much where, I don't know, try to show us something, but just for practice purposes, because I used to draw a lot more when I, like a year ago, a few months ago, but now since I finished my studies, I haven't got into drawing yet too much, but I want to get back to it. I want to brush up my drawing skills and learn. There's so much to learn in drawing, and I think I want to do that on stream as well, but more on a casual side, not to, I don't know, show how I approach things, because I'm still learning a lot. So drawings will come in the future. Let's see. At least the calculation now started, so. Right. Yeah, not too full of action this stream today, but hopefully the explanation of the shader setup and the lighting was a bit insightful. Thank you. Is it easy to find a job in 3D modeling with your skills? Depends on what options you have at hand. If you only search in a localized area, maybe in your town, it really depends on what jobs do the studios have at the moment. Do they have projects where they need modelers? Do they already have modelers? Because I found that there aren't that many positions for modelers, and sometimes they just use a few that are in the studio for quite a while already, and they don't hire new ones. But I would say if I would send in applications across like a wider range of studios in different cities, I would say I would have a decent chance to get a job, yeah. EB, thanks. Hello, Texia Tosh. Sculpture Revive, does drawing help with 3D sculpture? Definitely. Drawing is really a good tool to increase the quality of your sculpting as well. And 3D increases your ability to draw, depending on what you do. But I found that sculpting helped my drawing and drawing helped my sculpting. And I would say diving more into 2D actually helped me the most. Or not the most, but it was a huge factor. So it's not that it helps you a little, it's definitely helping you a lot. Because it all comes down to learning the fundamentals, and the fundamentals are anatomy, perspective, and like all the value and color comes together there as well. But what 2D does is it trains your eye, it trains your judgment, it trains how you interpret a reference, it trains just so much that is the same in 3D as well. Because I have a flat surface here and I judge a drawing the same way that I judge my sculptures. And the only difference is that I can turn my sculptures and have a new image that I can judge from another angle. But the process is still the same. So the cool thing for drawing is that when you learn technical stuff like proportions and I don't know, body variations or anatomy, the speed of iterations when it comes to drawing is much quicker than in 3D. You can draw a skull in like a few seconds, but you can't sculpt a skull in a few seconds. It takes much longer. And when you try to learn stuff on a technical level, and even from an artistic level, of course, 2D is just a great tool to do that. And then you can apply it to 3D. Emra, is there an address where we can reach your models? I will make them available on my Gumroad soon. I want to upload more models that I did in the past, especially the ones that I printed myself as well. So look out for that. It will probably be by next week or end of this week. I will have a few already there, but when it comes to this model, it will probably be next week. So. Gaia Bahet is now following. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, you found my Twitch channel. In GeoAgri just subscribed. Hopefully I caught it correctly. Alright, it's still computing. I mean, like I said, the poly count is pretty high right now, so this is why it's taking so long. But after that I can combine everything, so it's good. Mr. Senator, for 3D sculpting, do you think a drawing tablet is good enough, or do you think a graphic tablet is needed? You don't need to have a display tablet, if that's what you mean, like a display that you can draw on. I sculpt with a graphics tablet, like just a normal one, like the Wacom Intuos or the Hue and Canvas. So if I type in tools, you will see that these are the hardware that I use. And when it comes to sculpting, even though the Hue and Canvas Pro is a display tablet, I use it as a normal graphics tablet when I'm sculpting. I only use it as a display tablet when I'm drawing or painting. And I would say you don't need a display tablet, especially because it's just much cheaper. There are people that really like sculpting on a display tablet, but I think it only makes sense if it's a larger one, and those get expensive pretty quickly. Sculpt to Revive. Where to learn composition, color, mixing, etc. I would say look up a few teachers on drawing and painting on YouTube. Let's see. Brian just subscribed, thanks. Hey, Roland. Oh boy. Let me see. So this one should give you a list of a few names that are really cool. Let me see. Should be posted soon. Yeah. So Proco is really good for anatomy, but you asked for. Let me scroll up. Composition, color mixing. I would say look up Marco Bucci. He's a 2D artist and he has a lot of great tutorials about color and mixing and composition and all of that. So, because look into monoprice drawing tablets to get started. They're solid budgets. All right. Oh boy, that was a big discount there. All right, still computing. Not the most interesting process right now. Lots of waiting. But yeah, don't focus too much on the when you're looking for resources. Don't look too much on the in the same area that you want to pursue. Like if you're drawing, don't just look at drawing tutorials, or if you're just sculpting or doing 3D, don't just look at 3D stuff. Look at 2D as well, or even something that isn't related to the industry itself. For example, if you're looking for designs, don't or look at how the real world works. And sometimes it's stuff that you find in documentaries, or I don't know, tutorials about crafting or something like that that doesn't have to do with 3D or 2D in general. Mr. Senator, do you sculpt clothing in Zbrush? Yes, I do. But I haven't done it too much, so that's definitely something that I have to study as well, like how folds work correctly and how to sculpt them properly. Hackles computed, yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'm pronouncing or using the wrong words. I know that. English isn't my first language. Come on. Maybe I should have decimated each object one by one. But this should be a good sign that it finished the computing. Let's see. Usually the autosave only kicks in once a computation is done. There we go. Alright, now decimate all. Thanks, Fapping to Zen. Hanky, what's happening exactly? Decimating, like with Dynamesh? It is decimating, but it's not evenly reducing the polygons. It's looking at the curvature of the model and tries to triangulate it as efficiently as possible. Some people are spamming on Twitch. Alright, but now it's much more manageable, as you can see here. And this is exactly what I wanted to achieve. Thank you. How do you do that? It's a plugin. It's Decimation Master, and you have to pre-process current. This is where it calculates the model, and then you can decimate it to the amount that you want. Albert just subscribed. Thanks. V anxious? Is it anxious just with a V instead of an A? Do you have hard surface tutorials? Nope, not really. I tackled it a few times during the streams when I added accessories for models, but I don't have a dedicated tutorial on that. There are other people out there that do a much better job on that. So, alright, so 2.834 million polygons in total, and it is holding the details quite well. So let's actually see. What I wanted to do was to increase the details a little bit for printing, because printing tends to smooth out the details much more. So let's go to masking and mask by cavity. I think I should have done that before decimating though. Aiden just subscribed. Thanks. Let's see. Insert or inverse. Cavity, inverse, and let's see if we inflate it inwards for 0.2. No, not really convincing. Mr. Senator, printing like a 3D printer? Yes, I want to print it out on my printer later. Alright, this isn't working like I want it. Let's see, mask cavity this way. Nope. I think I have to redo. Alright, let's test it out here. Texture map off, masking, just to see if it would do a better job, and I think it is doing a better job. So inverse, Control H, and auto group, not auto group, inflate inwards for like -3. That was too much. -2. Not quite sure. Matindi, for someone who can't afford Zbrush, is there any free software you can recommend? Blender. I would say use Blender. They're doing a lot of work on the sculpting tools at the moment, so it's just a matter of time when it gets more performant, when you can get into higher levels of details, but I think it's a good start. It's really solid already. Nini, question about gaming character. What is the best for details? Baking an HD mesh to a low poly mesh using normals, or using a displacement map? For games, it's normal maps. Games usually don't, or like never use a displacement map. It's always normal, as far as I know. DSO Dragos, hey to you as well. Let's see. blur mask. I'm just trying to see if it's or if I can increase the details a bit better. I mean, it will be really small, but it would be fun to have as much detail as possible. Ayub, are you a developer? Nope, I'm not a developer. I'm just an artist that is doing models for developers probably. Or for myself, for printing it out. Alright, so I think this is more suitable for printing than this one. You can see that there's just so much more depth in the details, and this is what I want to preserve in the printing as much as possible. So let's do this one here and delete this here. So insert skull. Let's see how many details get lost when I go subdivision level lower. It's still holding up almost everything, and it will make the pre-processing much quicker. Alright, it's again time for just talking, questions and all of that, because, oh, nope, it finished. Mr. Senator, is it possible to 3D print a character model with rotatable joints? If you print it in multiple parts, for sure. Sean just subscribed, thanks. Hey, how do you get that little head in the top right corner? This is a new feature that they added in Zbrush 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So depending on your Zbrush version, you will have that or not. So. Sculpture Revive, after what time you earned your first money with Zbrush? I think it was after 3 years. I was still in school back then when I started, so it took around 3 years. Hunky, what was your favorite toy as a child? Interesting question. Favorite toy? Can't remember actually. Did I have any toys? I mean, I played basketball a lot with a few friends of mine, but that was later. I played airsoft with friends as well, so other than that, maybe the Game Boy. And we used to play a lot outside and just play around, dig like holes on the ground and messed up the garden. Hippocrates, hi, very nice presentation, congrats. Thanks. I kindly suggest to revisit the scapular anatomy at some point. The orientation of the acromion and coracoid process seems a little off. Kind regards. Thanks for the feedback. I think I won't touch the model anymore. This is just the wrapping up of the entire project. But yeah, there's definitely room for the next project or for the next study to improve on. So thanks for the feedback. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. We just sit down and learn and I don't know. Not really. I figured many 3D artists played with robots as kids. I used to love my Bionicles and Gundams. I actually had Bionicles as well, but just for a short amount of time. and I really liked them. But it wasn't like a major part of my childhood. What I pursued quite a lot was Warhammer. So I had these little miniatures when I grew up that I used to paint. So this was a huge part, like painting Warhammer miniatures, like Citadel tabletop miniatures. And I think this was quite a big factor for me to pursue art as a career. Ayub, the name of this app, please. It's Zbrush. It's on the top left corner. You can see the version that I'm using. Alright, computing is done. Let's decimate it down to like 12%. Let's see. And that's totally fine. Benedict just subscribed. Thanks for the subscription. So now that the skull is in place, I think I have to do the same here with the spine as well. So let's go to geometry. Go down one subdivision level, I think. Oh no, first I have to increase the details. So masking, mask by cavity. Hey. Why isn't it masking? That's strange. Let's see, maybe because of the texture map. Let's see, maybe when we do this, mask by cavity. Nope. That's strange. That should actually get or give us better results. Not quite sure what the problem is. Let's test something out. So let's go just with a single one here and hit this mask by cavity. Alright, could be that it... yeah, there's something strange going on, so maybe I have to go through all of them here one by one. I want to have this everywhere here, I'm not quite sure. It seems like there's a bug going on. Maybe it's into conspiracy. Alright, that doesn't work. Let's see, what can I do to fix that? Yeah, I think I do have another option. So store morph target, and then I do a slight polish. That should smooth everything out just a little bit. And then I can use the morph target to increase the difference even more. Rapshas just subscribed, thanks. Hey Infinity Trapdoor, how are you doing? some morph target, increase it and increase it more and more. Okay, not quite sure what's going on. It seems like the undo history is a bit broken. Maybe I have to remesh everything first and then project the details again. So I'm doing fine. Just trying to think about how I would approach that. So and I talked about the shading and lighting earlier. So yeah, now I'm done with the portfolio side of things, like rendering, shading, lighting, all the modeling and texture baking and all of that. And now it's on the printing side. So how I would approach yeah, preparing everything for rendering. Not for rendering, for printing, sorry. Alright, so let's see if it works on the arms at least. So masking, mask back cavity, and that seems to work better. So inverse and blur it once. I think the details are maybe too sharp, so I go one subdivision level down, and that gives much better results. So inverse it and inflate it -3. Let's try that. So texture map turned off, and that looks good to me, I would say. You play horror games? No, I don't. Friend Jim Studios, how to get big. Do you mean the textures? Not quite sure what the question is exactly. Mr. Senator, I had a question about your Huon tablet pen. Does the quality from Huon pen feel cheap compared to Wacom? It feels a little bit cheaper, but I got used to it pretty quickly, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it does get a little bit, or the quality is a little bit cheaper, and clicks a little bit when you shake it, but other than that, it feels solid. And if it's your first tablet and you're not used to any other one, then I would say you will not notice it. It's pretty cool. I like it. Sculptor Revive, what angle is your tablet set at? I do use the Huon stand that they sent it with, so it stands at this kind of an angle. I like to have it at an angle because it feels like it's yeah, a bit better on my wrist. But it's not set too high. It's just, what is it? Maybe 15 degrees, something like that. Not quite sure exactly. All right. Let's see. This is the mask. Let's blur it once. Not this way. maybe this way, and do the same thing again. So I want to push the details just a bit more. -1, -2. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, the morph brush is not working though. Ayub, no, I don't actually. You're welcome, Mr. Senator. It feels like this is too much for the print. Maybe I will dial it back down a little bit. This was probably a bit too much. Sorry, I don't understand Russian, if that's Russian. So sorry for that. Crafts, do you think that ZBrush interface should change? I hope not on a fundamental basis, because I'm just so used to it, and I actually like it. It's something that a lot of people complain about, but I found it quite intuitive for me, and I hope that they will stick with it. Very unpopular opinion, I think, but I think they did a good job of streamlining it for tablet use. So if you're using a graphics tablet, then this is quite intuitive, at least for me. I apologize for rushing in my tongue when you make bones. Do you have voxel mode enabled, or is it a bone texture that looks realistic? This is all hand sculpted. I sculpted that, all the details here, and it's painted as well. So I poly painted the textures that you can see here. And the details, as I said, are done by hand. So no voxel or anything. I started with Dynamesh and then I zero meshed it at some point. -2. Nope. -1. Alright, that's good enough. And alright, so delete higher because this is good enough for me. Don't have to have a crazy amount of detail there, because yeah, it will not show up at the resolution that I'm printing it. Alright, now this one should be fine. So let's go to masking, mask back cavity. This doesn't work on this one at all. Not quite sure what is wrong with this model. That looks interesting, to be honest. Maybe we can increase the details here with this mask. Let's see, inflate -3. It's not too pretty. Maybe minus 1. Well, let's go with -2 first. Too strong. Then -1. Good enough. Mr. Senator, since you are going to print your anatomy model, does it need a stand or did you add a base for the feet? I think I will create a stand for it and then print it separately that I can just stick the model onto. Or maybe I will add a few keys that I can then stick together. Dynamic mesh handles voxels, so it's under the hood of Zbrush. Okay. Sorry for characters. Xulha started on Zbrush last month. Any tips to a beginner? Don't try to make perfect meshes in the beginning, or try to, I don't know, put so much effort into one object to get it perfect, instead of and burning out through that, but instead do a lot of projects and push it to like 80% and then move on to the next one, because you learn the most amount of stuff at the beginning, and it's the foundation, especially in the beginning, that a lot of people don't focus too much time on or don't appreciate too much. So the primary and secondary shapes are the most important things, and don't worry too much about the like alpha maps and details and skin pores and all of that. This is just icing on the cake, so tackle that later when you feel confident with the big forms and all of that. And when it comes to the fundamentals of anatomy and proportions and like how the skull is constructed, how ears are constructed, look at drawing tutorials as well. They're really helpful when it comes to that. Do you have any spine of one mass, or do you make each vertebra as a separate object? Each vertebra was separate, but now that I want to print it, I will merge everything together. But all of the vertebrae here are individual objects that I distributed along the spine. Thank you, I gotta go. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a good day, or yeah, all the best with whatever you're doing next. Ayub, thanks for the name of this app. No problem. Alright, for the skeleton, I think I will skip the hyoid bone because it will just float in the air, and this doesn't really make sense to have, I would say. Or maybe, let's see. Xulha just subscribed, thanks. What if we use the face muscles? Nacho just subscribed, thanks a lot. If we use the face muscles here to have as a some kind of a connection, that would be cool. Alexander subscribed, thanks. Ange, hope that's correct. Hey Fynn, do we need a screen tablet, or is it enough a simple drawing pad for Zbrush? A simple graphics tablet drawing pad is enough. I don't use a display tablet when I'm sculpting, so that's totally fine. And if you want to look at the stuff that I'm using, that should be posted by the Streamlabs bot. So I have a Wacom Intuos Pro M and a Canvas Pro 13 from Huon, but I don't use it as a display tablet when I'm sculpting. Alright, so what I wanted to do here, auto groups. Let's turn off the texture map. And I'm thinking about leaving these muscles in here as some kind of a bridge to hold the hyoid bone, but I think that would stand out too much. No, I think I will kill it. Ayub, no, I don't. Alright. So let's switch to the arms again, and I want to turn the textures off because I don't need it. And let's decimate that thing. So pre-process current. And then I think I will create, after that is done, I will create the meshes to fill in the gaps and start to adjust the model here and there. Someone just subscribed, thanks. And for anyone that's new at the moment, someone else, Pelboard just subscribed, thanks. Anyone that is new right now, I'm working on an anatomy study that I started quite a bit ago on stream as well. So this is right now the end of this project, and I'm just preparing it for printing it out. But the rendering is done, and the modeling, texturing, all of that is came to an end, and this is the final result. So it started from scratch, just from a simple sphere that turned into the skeleton, that I added more bones, one after the other two. And after a while, when I blocked out everything, I started to add the muscles. And this is the result of the entire project. So if I zoom in closer, you can see or you should be able to see it. Let me open it again. There we go. So this is all the detail that is in there. And if any one of you is interested in the recordings of the entire process, it's available through my Patreon page. And the links are down in the description. And yeah, what I also did along the way was to create this reference library with all it's like 95% of or 99, like almost all of the references that I used for the study can be found in here, and this is also available there. So if you're interested in doing a study like this, that might be interesting for you. And for anyone that just joined or came in later, I talked about the rendering and shading setup and the lighting that I used for these renderings at the beginning of this stream. So if you want to scroll back, you can do that. They generally just help you make an accurate model, taking into account that there are muscles, or then somehow it can be used when animating the model. This is for studying purposes as the main goal, so to say. But I think for if you have like a muscle rig, when you simulate the muscle movements and all of that, it could be used as a base. But in most of the cases, you don't need a model like this. It's just to learn how anatomy works and to use it on characters to come. But it's not intended to do the to use it as a base for modeling, for rigging or animation. So. I think you could look at Stan Prokopenko. He has a really good tutorial that explains that really well. So, Tim Müller sieht sehr gut aus. Vielen, vielen Dank. Danke fürs Vorbeischauen. Alright. And just to explain what I'm doing right now for anyone that just joined, I want to combine all of the bones right now because I want to prepare it for printing. I want to print it out and have it as a small figurine or a larger figurine on my desk, and this is what I'm currently doing. So, Jonathan, thanks for being here. All right, that should be done. Let's decimate current. And there we go. Tim Müller, vielleicht kommt demnächst ja auch mal ein Livestream in Blender. Ich habe tatsächlich schon ein paar Streams in Blender gemacht. Die müssten, glaube ich, auch öffentlich sein von einem Goblin. Es wird wahrscheinlich mehr in Zukunft, aber gerade bin ich halt sehr auf Zbrush. Und das Rendering habe ich auch ein bisschen in Blender erklärt. Also ja, ich bin noch dabei, mich da reinzuarbeiten. Also es ist so, hat noch nicht ganz Maya ersetzt, aber die meiste Arbeit mache ich sowieso in Zbrush, deswegen. Aber ein paar Sachen habe ich in Blender gemacht. GIF 8. Sorry, GIF 8. Why don't you save the streams? I do. I just make them available through my Patreon page. I have like a live stream archive there. So if you're interested in that, and I do have some other Blender videos there. I think I have 2 streams more in Blender. But all of the other streams are available through my Patreon page. And I think I have around 40 streams there. So if you're interested in the recordings, you can head over there. And for anyone that just joined through my Patreon, we also have a Discord channel where we're sharing our work in progress stuff. And I share my behind the scenes there as well. So if I have test renders or smaller studies, I post them there. And sometimes when the schedule is right, I make the videos available earlier for the patrons. So yeah, if you're looking for ways to support my channel, then check out the description. Mauricio, it's nice to see you speaking your native language, even though I don't understand it. Thanks. Yeah, I try to switch to English as fast as possible because more people can understand it. But yeah, glad you like it. Thanks, Jonathan. All right, so let's put it here just to have a cool looking thumbnail there. And now I'm just pushing the things here together to fill the gaps. And then I will probably do a Dynamesh on top of everything. And this will fuse all the meshes together. Alex just subscribed. Thanks. I'm currently learning German in Duolingo, but it's very difficult. Yeah, it's even difficult sometimes for me. German is not the easiest one. But all the best with your studies. Sculpture Revive. Does the employer provide all the software such as Zbrush, Substance Painter, 3ds Max? If you get hired in a studio, then you get provided everything. If you're working as a freelance artist, you should have the licenses. If not, then sometimes studios offer to lend you licenses if they have floating ones. But most of the time it's expected that the freelance artist is providing the software. Could you show how the bones of the hand are made? That is exactly the fingers and the palm. So the palm of the hand is made out of these as well as these here. So this is the palm of the hand. The rest are the fingers. And if that is what you ask. Mr. Senator, for models like your goblin, have you ever modeled the platform base to have little pegs that go inside the feet so that the model can be removed from the base platform after you 3D print them? For my small miniatures, I never did that because it was just too small. But I did it on a small figure once. Let me grab it actually. This one. So I used it on this project. It's like a small wolf. It's part of it's the main character of a short film that I worked on. And for this one I had some, as you can see, not deep enough. Jesus. But now you can see it better. These are these little poles in here. Oh boy, embarrassing. J Hondark 0 is now following. And I did a few, or these two little holes in the base, but as you can see, I still have to learn a little bit more. It feels like the glue didn't coat it properly, or made it stick properly. But yeah, and maybe I will do that for this character here as well. Or maybe I will just glue it to the base, not quite sure yet. Ian5 just subscribed, thanks. Are all bones the same as individual objects? Not quite sure what you mean, but at the moment they're all individual objects, and I duplicated some of them to use as a base for the other ones to come, but they're obviously varying in shape a little bit. So this one is shaped differently than this one. Mr. Senator, that's pretty cool. Thanks. Alright. Not quite sure how I should fill the gap here. So I think I will just put it in here. closer here and fill the gap with this bone. Alright, all of these gaps here I think I will merge or fill in later. Trolls in the chat. It was about time that some trolls came. Well, I understand that you sculpted each finger and bone separately. Cool and best productive method. Yeah, what I like to do is to, when it comes to the fingers, do one finger and then duplicating it and just adjusting it. This way it just saves a lot of time. Alright, just filling the gaps here. Logan, yeah, YouTube is sometimes strange when it comes to their recommendations. But yeah, glad you found this channel. Not quite sure if you're into 3D or not, but yeah, thanks for joining. Is it really possible to create a model of a person from one object that is insert a sphere and begin to sculpt from it? Yeah, that's totally fine. You can create an entire body from one mesh when you use Dynamesh and stuff like that. I am doing that all the time. Just when it comes to like accessories, cloth or anything like that, then it makes sense to add more objects. Whatever is a separate object in the real world, I would create as a separate object in 3D as well. So, or a different material. For example, the teeth I like to have separate from the gums, or the eyes I like to have them as a separate model as well, and hair, for example. So, Logan, I subbed. I'm an engineer, so I probably got this recommendation because you're a 3D modeling. Oh, thanks for the sub. Yeah, then probably YouTube did its magic. So I want to get it close together so that there's enough overlap here that it gives stability to the leg. Once I combine everything, same here. Just want to make sure that it's not as fragile anymore when it's printed. A few overhangs here and there, but hopefully I can fix that when I'm Dynameshing it. All of these holes will be filled. Have you heard or tried 3D code. I heard of it, and I think I tried it once, like a long time ago. But it wasn't for me. I heard from a lot of people that they really like to use it. But yeah, I tried it out and it was okay. I did a bit of retopologizing there. But it wasn't... I don't know. I have no opinion really of it or about it. GFJ Hone just subscribe. Thanks for the sub. Let's bring everything together here a bit more. Let's see, can I leave them a bit separate? I want to bring them closer together just so they give each other support. But maybe it destroys a bit the authenticity, or not authenticity, but the how it actually looks like. Its nickname is not following. Thanks. Jonathan Martinez, what graphics tablet do you use? If you type in !tools, you should get all the hardware that I'm using. Hello. All right, a bit closer together. I think makes sense here. Come on, hot sauce, does it work? I hope yeah, it works perfect. Took a bit of time to get the chatbot working. Glad that it is finally working now. And for anyone that's interested in the commands that I have, this is the list of things that I set up. It's not too much yet, but maybe it is helpful to some of you. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it makes more sense for the feet to be printed right on the surface. So I will just adjust it a little bit. Ramesh, I'm using Zbrush. It's on the top left corner. You can see the version that I'm using. making these digits here a bit bigger, just so they're a bit more stable. Mr. Senator, if you have not considered this, maybe in the future you could offer Patreon supporters of 3D file for 3D printing one of your models, if they would be interested in that. I think, let me quickly check if I've done that. I'm planning to do a few things for the models, maybe discounts or freebies as well. I don't have a consistent upload schedule yet when it comes to like models and projects and all of that, so I haven't included that in the tiers yet, but this is something that will come for sure. Tim Müller, wie groß wird die Figur gedruckt? Kannst auch gerne in Englisch antworten. Thanks. It will be printed probably at this scale here. So I don't know how large that is. Maybe 30 centimeters, 25, something like that. And I will cut it into different pieces to fit it into my printer. I have an Elegoo Mars and a Nova Bene 4. They're basically the same printer, and I will print them on those, and they have a small print bed, so I'm a bit restricted when it comes to that. So let's give it an edge here, fuse it together. Alright. Still have to merge everything together with Dynamesh anyways, so let's move on to the other parts. And for the fingers, I think I will post them differently, so let's draw that out, and I want to let the points or the tips of the fingers touch. Hopefully this way it's a bit more stable than if I print them hanging loose. Alright. Thanks very much. It will be a while, I think, until that happens. Tim Miller, das heißt, es ist eigentlich egal, wie groß man die Figur modelliert, man kann sie ja immer auf die gewünschte Druckgröße skalieren. Zum Beispiel für D&D oder Tabletop Games in 78 mm. Yep, exactly. So I could even prepare this model here for 28 mm size. I would have to inflate a few things just to make it printable, because this part here, for example, if I print it in 28 mm, it will probably snap right off if it gets printed at all. But yeah, that's the cool thing about 3D, that it's so flexible in what you can do with it. So, Mr. Center, I've never used a 3D printer, but do they make filament that is flexible? I mean, would it be possible to pose your character? Not really posing, I would say, but there are materials where you can, where it's really flexible, but it always gets back into the original shape. So not something that that you can permanently change position in. ID makers just subscribe. Thanks. TARDIS Blue, what's up? Alright. So I hope that this will give some kind of stability to it. But I guess we have to wait for the prints to come out. So I will increase the surface where they are connected just by pushing the meshes closer together. Make it wider here just so it intersects with the other mesh more. Maybe I do that here as well. Just filling in the gaps here. The same here, as much as possible, before breaking the accuracy of the study. So I'm bending it right now, a bit just to make sure that the print isn't as fragile anymore. Who cares? Just subscribed. I do. Thanks for the sub. Alright. Filling all the gaps here. As well as here. Finally the song switched. Became a bit repetitive. Alright. This is close together. Same here. This sits at the scapula. Alright. This is fused together here as well. Let's get to the spine. How do I approach that the best way? I think I'm gonna insert a like a cylinder or curved tube just to fill in the gaps quickly. Mr. Senator, do you have any concerns about the filament spiderwebbing on the small parts? I won't do a filament print, like an FDM print. I will use a resin printer for that, and I want to fill as many gaps as possible just to avoid like adding so much supports. And yeah, I think when it comes to resin 3D printers, there isn't a big problem with like having intricate parts that you would have with spider webbing with filament. Ahmed just subscribed, thanks. So I think when it comes to the printing process, the FDM printer is much more sensible to user errors and to how it's sliced up, so there's not that plug and play that you have with resin printers. And I'm glad I'm using a resin printer for this project. So let's make it solo mode here. Let's go on this, this, and this. Now we only have Xbing C just subscribed. Thanks. I just want to make the spine visible. This way it's probably easier for me to insert the cylinders. So curved tube. And there's actually, you know what, let's split that for now. And I only have this small part here. For the other model, do you have on your table, was there any printing issues? I have not looked into resin printers that much. This model here, this one was made by 3D Total, so it's a casting. It's not a print that I did. But I would like to get to a similar kind of feel, a similar kind of quality, hopefully. It won't be as smooth, since it's a proper casting here, but maybe close. All right, this gap is filled. Thanks, Mr. Senator. No, I wish I did, but this one was bought. All right, so there it is connected. What I can do here is to push these ones closer together, just so that there isn't any gap anymore. Or you know what? Let's use the inflate brush to do that. Because I have to have a thicker mesh here anyways. Thanks, Sculptor Revive. Glad you like it. This will be a lot of fun when it comes to the supports. This will probably take quite a while. Mr. Senator, I agree, I'm glad I was recommended. Thanks, I appreciate it. It feels like when I'm sending out the like a community post before the stream, it feels like it recommends more to people. So glad that so many people joined today. Thanks everybody for being here, wherever you are right now. Sculpture Revive, what is the difference between brush, move topology and move? When it comes to the excuse me, sorry. The difference there is the move brush works overall, so I would move it like this, and it's not taking into account that there are separate meshes there. So what the move topological brush does is wherever you click, it will look what is connected to the vertex or to the point that you clicked on and does the fall off from there. So since these meshes are not connected, it doesn't find a connection from the point that I clicked on to the blue mesh yet, here for example. So this is really helpful when you work on individual objects like this, or on meshes that are close to each other, for example on fingers. I really like to use the move topological brush there. Feels like my voice is breaking a little. Maybe I have talked too much. Alright, so let's create another curve down the middle to fill all the gaps there. You're welcome. Alright, let's push these together. I'm not too worried about intersecting meshes here because I will, like I said, merge them all with Dynamesh anyways. Angie, I'd like to learn Zbrush. Do you stream weekly or you have stream schedule? I do stream 2 times a week at the moment. So on Wednesdays and Sundays I do streams, and it's always around the same time as today. So either like today or an hour later, this is usually the time that I'm streaming. So for me it starts either at 5 or 6 p.m. But it's here in Germany, so wherever you are, it's a bit different probably. But I do send out or I post a video or an announcement on YouTube before the stream, and then you get the proper time zone displayed there for your time zone. When you go on to my Twitch account, I do have a schedule there as well. It should display the time zone that you are in, but yeah, the titles don't always match. I sometimes forget to update them before the stream. Catch, hyphen, awesome stuff as always. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining today. And soon the study will be over. It's just a matter of, I think, 1 or 2 streams after this one, and then it's done. It's just the preparation for the printing that is left, but everything else is done. So time for a new project after this one. Question about 3D print objects. When it's done, do you need to sand the object's surface? Depends on your printer. When it comes to FDM printers, that's usually the case, as far as I know. When it comes to resin 3D printers, it's just about cleaning up the support marks. So wherever you added supports, there are probably a few spots that you need to clean up, but other than that, I don't sand the surface at all. I just leave it as it is. The quality is just good enough for that. All right, trying to fill as many gaps here as possible and bring as much stability there as I can. But as you can see, it's quite intricate model. So the spine will be the most complicated one to print. But I would like to keep as many holes in there as possible, like the empty space here, because this is what makes the spine look so cool, I find. So hopefully I can keep as much there as I can. Tim Müller, regelmäßig Livestreams mit Zbrush, dann muss ich wohl doch wieder von Blender wechseln zu Zbrush. Yeah, sorry about that. But most of the stuff translates from Zbrush to Blender. So I'm just not doing that much polymodeling because I'm more into characters, and this way, and this is why I'm doing so much in Zbrush. And Zbrush is just a lot of fun when it comes to like sculpting and quickly blocking out meshes. Ian, if you haven't already bought the full Zbrush, I would download Zbrush Core Mini and then try it. I haven't tried out Zbrush Core Mini yet, but I guess it gives a good impression about what the full version of Zbrush might do. So I think it's worth it to try out. Lorenzo just subscribed. Thanks. Max, go make skin. Nope, I won't do the skin for this one. This was just for modeling the skeleton and the muscles. And when it comes to the skin, I think I will do separate studies for that. A lot of just rotating around the model. hopefully it works out in the printing process. Tim Müller, inwieweit ist Zbrush kostenlos? You can get a 30-day trial of Zbrush, and I'm not quite sure, but if Zbrush Core Mini is free, I haven't looked into that because I own Zbrush and I don't need that. But other than that, Zbrush is a paid software, so there aren't any student, or I think there are student versions out there, but they cost as well. So yeah. Unfortunately, it's not as accessible as Blender, for example, which is free, but it is a really good software, and for that it's actually fairly cheap, I think. Mr. Senator, probably a dumb question, lol, but if you were contracted to model a character, would you be allowed to 3D print it? It depends on the contractor. Right now or recently I worked on a project and the company is now thinking about printing the objects, and they asked me if I could prepare that for printing, and then I can print it out. But if I do models for a job, then I get paid to do that for them, and it's their property after that, so I don't have the right to sell it afterwards. I could do prints for myself if I wanted. I think that shouldn't be a problem, but I wouldn't be able to, or I would have to ask the company if they would be fine with me sharing a print or something like that. So Eduardo, buenas tardes. Hello to you. Zbrush Full is expensive, but not really, because this is perpetual license, no subscribe. Yeah. I think I could print out. I mean, this model here. This was for a short film that I worked on that I got hired for, and I printed this one out just for personal use. And in the end, I gifted a small print to the director as well, and she was very happy about it. So that's definitely possible. Just depends on who you did the model for. For example, if, I don't know, someone gets hired for Marvel to work on something, I'm not quite sure if they would be allowed to do that, because it's so protected, but I think there are always ways to get permissions for stuff like that. Especially if it's free advertisement. Eduardo just subscribed. Thanks a lot. Servant just subscribed. Thank you very much. Let's see. This model is coming to an end here, so I will push it down further. Servant, did you attend Zbrush Summit? Unfortunately not. No, I totally missed it, which was kind of a bummer, because I heard from my patrons that they had an open sculpt off there, which I would have loved to attend, but I just yeah, I missed it completely. So hopefully next year. Alright, this is connected. Cyril is now following. Thank you very much. Alright. Feels like the spine is now supported properly. Nox just subscribed. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for liking the video. It seems like the stream got a bit more popular over the last streams, so thanks everybody who joined here just recently and people that come back regularly. I really appreciate it. Alright, so now that all of that is in place, let's see how the ribs look like. Let's hide the skeleton here. There was still a mask going on here, so trying to connect them as much as I can. Hopefully it's possible to print that in one piece, like the torso. I will probably print it in the sections as it is right now, so the spine together with the rib cage, then the arms, and then the head on top. Raven just subscribed. Hopefully it's the right name. Ian, glad you like it. Alright, let's push the ribs in here. Don't have any water left. So I think for today I want to get to the point where I merged everything together with Dynamesh, and then exporting it to the STL files. So hopefully, Jonathan just subscribed. Thanks for the subscription. Dennis, how are you going to assemble it? Are you gonna print only the skeleton? I will do two versions. I will print only the skeleton and one version with the muscles on top. So this one is just for the skeleton, and I will do like the same kind of cleanup and filling the gaps and all of that with the muscles as well. And then I will have two figures in the end. Santosh just subscribed. Thanks. In cases like this, I wish that the softwares for adding supports and orienting the model would be a bit more sophisticated with their auto supports and all of that. Because this will take a while to orient properly and place all the supports and then make it print ready completely. So I think I will do the base for I will start with the supports offline, because it's the most repetitive step of any, and then I can show that on stream afterwards once it's all done. And hopefully the print is just a few days after that ready to be presented. Alright, I think I made the decision that I'm making the base of the ribs here really thick, so it touches the vertebrae this way. I hope it gets more stable. And less empty space. Right, this is all good here. Mr. Center, thank you for answering all our questions. The music and you are really cool attitude. It's very peaceful and enjoyable. Oh, I appreciate your comment. Yeah. When I started out like a while ago, I got a lot out of like time-lapse videos and all of that, and there weren't that many about 3D back then. And I really appreciated all the content that I found, so I'm glad that I can give back a little. Pushing that here closer to each other just so it intersects more. Alright. Let's see. I think I'm gonna make these here separate so that the spine together with the sacrum and the collarbones get printed and then the arms separate. Daniel Bone just subscribed. Thanks. Thank you very much. Alright, so let's see how do we progress. Let's look at the skull first. If we can change anything here. Maybe we can bring the teeth a bit closer together. Sometimes if the brush is acting weird, just make sure that there aren't any masks on top. Bit of inflate just to fill the gaps. And I think we're ready to... Nope. This one can be pushed there further. Let me check actually. No, it's fine. Yeah. Just want to fit it properly here in the socket. And it should be actually this should be sitting on top of it. Something like that here. Just trying to bring it to a level where they actually could fit together. Mr. Center, maybe as a suggestion, you could add any books you think are relevant to learning 3D modeling to your chatbot. That's a good idea, and I wanted to do that already, but I forgot, so let me put that on my to-do list. Because it's a question that gets frequently asked, and I think it's really good chat to or comment to include. Book recommendation chat command. So next time there will be a list. Hopefully that's helpful. Books are very underrated. That's very true. Feels like if it's not a video, people don't like to look at the information that is available. Books are great. Sometimes a video is really helpful as well, but it just gives another area of information, I would say. It's just a different medium that has different abilities to show things, but books are still really valuable. Alright, that looks good as it is. And now it's time to combine the stuff that I want to print in one piece. So let's see. What does make sense to do? I mean, if the print would be perfect, perfectly, if there weren't any distortions or any shrinking happening with the material, I could slice the spine in half and print both halves separately, but it would probably never fit together perfectly. So I will, let's see, split the collarbones from the arms and then add them to the spine. So hopefully that works. Maybe it's too fragile, but I think I will have to test it out in Cheetahbox to see how good it is or how easy it is to get supports, and then probably have to slice it up again to make that easier. So split hidden, skeleton, so let's merge down and merge down. So this is what I have right now, and let's delete the hyoid bone, delete hidden. Anorak just subscribed, thanks. Thanks for the subscription. Mr. Center reminds me of those old car models where you glue everything together then paint it. I used to do that, like miniatures and collectibles a lot when I was younger. So it's quite fun to be able to do my own models right now. It's like coming full circle. And now I can appreciate what went into all of these models much more. I'm making this one thicker here just to give it a bit more support. Hopefully it's possible to add enough supports to print this one. But it should be. If I lay it on its back, something like at this angle, or maybe at this one so the ribs are supported a bit better. That could be possible. I think we will manage that. Alright, so I have this one here. Then the arms. And when it comes to the arms, let's see. I think I will do a boolean here, just to make sure that the joint actually fits together. So in this case I will duplicate it and inflate this one here just a little bit so I have more room to play with. 2, 4, something like this, and use that as a boolean option. And now when I hit live boolean, that should give me a good result here. Let's see, does it intersect somewhere here? Doesn't seem like it. Hey Romina, glad you made it. The boolean. Yeah, there are boolean functions here in Zbrush, and this is where you can define one object to be cut out of another object. And you can see here, for example, I have my hip joint and I want to make it fit the other joint so that there's a slight gap. Right now you can see that, or can't, but now that it's quite flat here, but here it's coming out quite a lot, so the meshes are intersecting and I want to remove the intersection there. And this is why I can boolean these meshes and it will give me the difference between the two. In programming, boolean means true or false. Ah, I see. Yeah, not quite sure why they named it boolean, but it is basically, I don't know, there might be some reason why it is similar to the programming definition, but I don't know exactly. So this is now much better here, and I will go to boolean and make boolean mesh, and this will generate the mesh for me. And it should pop up somewhere here next. There we go. So I can go in here and insert the stuff that we just did. And you can see when I look in here that there's a slight gap, and this is exactly what I wanted. Can also quickly give it a smooth. And I won't be hollowing anything except the skull. So this is why I won't do a dynamesh here, because I would lose the details too easily, and it's just another step. So I think this is ready for putting into Box. Just noticed that it's not symmetrical here, so I can go to mirror and weld and have my hand mirrored. Misfit, are you just studying anatomy? No, I study more than that. I study design as well. I like to get more into like costumes and all of that, and armor, or yeah, costumes in general. But anatomy is just a big part of characters, so this is why I like to focus on that quite a lot. Are the feet bone okay? I don't think you touched them yet. Good that you mention it, because I thought about adding a platform to do them, to print them on. But I think I will just leave it as it is here. I adjusted them a little bit, but there are a few spots here. Thanks for the notice. So bringing those here closer together to fill the gaps. Oop, oop. Let's fill the gaps here as well. It's not too important. All right. Maybe the entire bones here, just a tiny bit thicker, just to make them a bit more stable. Let's see. So maybe if they touch just a slight bit, yeah, but then they get too thick. I think the small one here is fine, but the others I think I will leave it as they are and just test it out. Maybe in this scale it's still fine. Otherwise I have to add stuff between them. But I think I can get them printed, hopefully. Misfit Pants, did you create the whole human body structure? Yes, I did. Everything that you see here started on stream. It started as I planned it to be a smaller study, but it turned into this huge project, and this is like my reference sheet that I had for this one. It's like almost all of the references that I used, and it grew over time, and this is the final result of the entire study. So this is with the muscles on top, and this was all done by hand, so nothing pre-made. And now I want to have that on my desk, so I'm preparing it for printing. Boop, let's put it here. All right, so that should be it. All the gaps here are filled. Here they're filled more or less. Can do a better job here. Filling the gaps. And are here any gaps left? Yes. This one will sit just between the two bones. Thanks, Misfit. It was a long project. it definitely took a bit of time. But it was a lot of fun. And I think I pushed my level of detail in comparison to the past. So quite glad that I tackled that project. Alright, I want to bring the bones of the finger here a bit closer together. Felt a bit out of place. Mr. Senator, if you wanted to add skin, would you have to redo everything, or could you duplicate the muscles and match them to make a skin texture? I could use that as base, like use Dynamesh to fuse everything together and then clean up the details a little and fill in the gaps, and then I would have a solid start, but nothing... how do you say that? It would just be a start. There would have to be a lot of work put into making it believable, because there's so much more to the surface when... I mean, it's almost all of it is there, but it will feel a bit alien. I think. Maybe it would look awesome, but I'm not quite sure. Haven't tried it. Alright, I want to fill the gap here somehow. Maybe I will mess up the anatomy and just push it like this. Yeah, exactly, and I would have to add like fat pads, and it's not as defined as the muscles. Like if you have a normal looking human, it's much smoother than the really defined muscles that I have in place at the moment. So, but it would be a solid start. It would be like maybe 80% done. Mr. Senja, I was just curious because I have seen a few games that have bones and muscles under the skin when you shoot the characters. Then it's just for visual purposes. It's not a requirement. Probably something like Mortal Kombat or something like that. They have it underneath, but it's not depending on each other. And for these cases, something like this would be sufficient. But my guess is that they sculpted these separately. So first the character and then added the skeleton inside. Alright. To make the placement easier, and adding the supports easier, I will just use 1/2 of the model here, and then I can make the supports and all of that and just mirror it over. So this way I hopefully can save a little bit of time. Misfit, I was thinking about studying anatomy before I start 3D modeling. I believe doing what you're doing will actually help. If you're studying anatomy for artistic reasons, then I would say a 3D will actually help you quite a lot when you want to study that, because doing a study like this where you go through every bone and every muscle just clarifies so much, like where the muscles start and where they connect to, and why certain parts of the skeleton are shaped the way they are to connect the rest of the body together. It's a really interesting thing. I just like studying anatomy. Alright, so I will smooth this out. This is where it will be glued to. And what I will also do is to separate the arm and the leg. So split hidden. Otherwise I couldn't place them individually. And this is the model that we will be sending over to Cheetahbox. So let's actually insert a cube. Oh no, we don't need that. We have to do the scaling anyways. So delete that cube. Alright. And let's put in an arbitrary number first. So update size ratio in millimeters. For the leg there, I think it's, I don't know, maybe 10 centimeters in height. And let's export it in as an STL. So projects, characters, anatomy study, printing, and then STL version 1. And first I want to name them properly. So this one is the spine, this one is the arm, this one is the leg, and the skull. Thanks, Cooper. And now I can export them. So export STL, projects, characters, anatomy study, printing, STL, and there we go. Subtool. Fully exported. So let's open up Cheetahbox and put these things inside. Anatomy study. Misfit. I believe that will help me develop a solid foundation. It definitely served as a solid foundation for me. I did this one while I was doing my first, how do you say that, internship, and it opened the world of anatomy and character modeling for me. This was really, really helpful. Gusty, does it work without Scale Master first? I will scale it according to the grid that I have at hand. So you can see that it's just way too big. If I'll scale them down, I want to print them as large as I can, so this one can be deleted. Let's see. It feels like this one can be deleted as well. Yeah, I exported out the wrong ones as well. Mahmoud, hi, hey to you. Alright, so I think the leg will be the biggest one. And I will probably angle it at something like this, so I can make it a bit bigger, actually. Oh boy, that's gonna be a few printing sessions, I'm sure. Let's take everything, and I want to scale it up a bit larger. What the hell? Why did this one shrink so much? Okay, I think I have to re-import everything. Just to be sure that every object is the same scale. This is the disadvantage of me doing it here, that I am not that flexible. Yeah. Stumpy legs. Alright, I think one more down. Yeah, that should be possible actually. So let's try that out. Let's put that aside. It's gonna be tight. Let's see. Do I have perspective? Hopefully it's not too tall. Alright, it seems like this is the height of the printer, and this is still possible. So let's go with that. Oh boy, it's gonna be fun. So for the, let's put that aside as well. For the head, what I'm gonna do is I will hollow the entire thing here and put a wall thickness of, let's go with that. And I will hollow it from the inside. Can you mirror the arms and legs in the 3D printing software, or do you have to send it from Zbrush? I will mirror it here in Cheetahbox. There's this option, where is it? Somewhere here. I think I can clone the model and then use the button here to mirror the sides. And this is what I'm gonna do once it's ready. So I will add a hole here on the bottom of the skull. This will give me a nice hole to let the rest of the resin sink out. Style, just subscribe. Thanks a lot. And I don't need the plug, so let's delete it. And I won't do it for the rest of the body, but I think we can do the supports for the skull here. And after that I will end the stream for today. So I supported a few skulls before, so I know what worked for me. And what worked for me was to put it on upside down and edit the supports here. And I think I want to, let's see, can we do that? I would like to keep as many details as possible here on the bottom side. So maybe I won't do it this way this time, because the top will be seen so often. So I will rotate it like this, and let's quickly go through to see if we get any overhangs that are hard to reach. So the jaw is completely fine. You can add a few smaller supports on the teeth. You can see islands popping up. I want to make sure that those are supported. After that, there's the back side here, and then the zygomatic arc here needs to be supported, but that's totally fine as well. Let's see if for the brow ridge, could be a few ones here, but that's not a big deal as well. And then the rest of the head. Alright. So let's get started. I do have a few changes in the settings here. Heavy, medium and light. You can see the settings that I'm using here at the moment. Medium is actually at 0.4. Heavy is at 0.8 if I'm not mistaken. And light is at 0.2. This is what I'm usually using. So I want to add a few heavy supports here on the bottom of the jaw, just to make sure that yeah, I have a strong foundation that the entire print sticks to. So place a few here and there, as well as here. So I try to add heavy supports wherever there's a lot of pressure on the model, and hopefully it avoids failures. So, Sculpture Revive, how much does printing materials cost? The resin for resin 3D printers costs around, like the cheap material is, I think, around $30 to $40 per liter, and then it gets more expensive. There are resins for $60 per liter and more, but yeah, you get quite far with a liter of resin. Support here and there. And for the zygomatic arc here, I'm using the medium. So wherever there are tiny spots, I will place one. So here as well as here. There's one as well. Edit support. My printer is an Elegoo Mars, and I do have a Nova Bene 4 3D printer. They're basically the same machine, and nowadays I would probably look at the Frozen Sonic Mini Mono. Is it? I hope it's called that way, with a monochromatic LCD display, and they're much more efficient and faster and give better details. So the printers change quite quickly, so I would go with the newest ones. Suppressing light. Hello. Let's go to the other side here. And I have to see that the things doesn't touch the geometry, or don't touch. That don't touch the geometry. So here, for example, it is pretty close to the jawbone, but still fine, I think. It's not nearly as expensive as I thought it was. The Frozen Sonic one is like 330. I saw one a few years ago and that was 2K. Yeah, the printers got much cheaper, which is awesome. It's so much more accessible than it used to be. I got interested when the only option was like the Form Labs, Form 1 and Form 2, and they cost like 2,000. So yeah, a lot has happened since then, and it's really cool to see. Let's see, I just want to make sure that I get all the islands here as best as I can. And on the bottom side here, I'm not too worried about the marks that I get from the supports. I'll just place a bunch and then deal with it later after the print is done. And the bottom side won't be that prominent anyways, so I can be a bit more vigorous. Is it? Can I say that, vigorous? Like, I won't be too sparse with the supports. This here, for example, is doing quite a big change in a few layers, and I think it's better if I give a few supports there. All right. Let's see here on the other side. That seems to be decent. And the teeth, I wanted to add a few on the teeth. Let me actually clean that stuff up a little. So I will delete a few of these extra support beams. And this way it will be easier for me to push these together. I want to make them into trees. And by trees I mean they will resemble trees. Like, this is the term that gets used in printing. Alright. That together. This will make the removing of the supports easier, it saves resin and just looks better. But mainly the step of removing the parts, the supports, will be... This is the reason why I'm doing that. Nick, I fell asleep listening to music and I just woke up to this and I'm high. Can someone explain what's happening? But dumbed down. You are looking at the preparations for a 3D print of an anatomy study that I started on stream quite a while ago that turned into this. So this is the final rendering. And I did the skeleton as well as the muscles on top of it. And the rendering is done. Now I want to turn that model into like a small figurine, like I have here. This is a bought one. I bought this from 3D Total. And yeah, this is the preparation for printing it on my resin printer. So this will hopefully be a small figurine once it's done. And I'm right now just adding the supports so it's printed properly. That's just a small sums up or summary. That's what I wanted to say. Let's add a few supports here again, because I have to support the teeth here. Oop. Oop. And oop. Just like that. And I have to make that higher so they don't intersect with the rest of the mesh. Let's see if I can find that. Perfect. Right, I have one missing here, so let's add another support and put it here in place. Alright, and now the same thing with the other side. Let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 new supports. This one, and so on and so forth. And like I said, I will do the same with the rest of the skeleton and come back to that on the next stream. So next stream I will do the muscle version, so I will do the preparations for that, and after that it will be the end of this project. So yeah, if anyone is new here and is interested in the process of all of this, I have the recordings of all the live streams available through my Patreon page, and it covers, I don't know, 80 hours of content just for this project, and I do have other projects on streams as well. And if you want to get access to the Discord channel where we're sharing our stuff, or the reference sheets that I used, all of that is available there. So there are links in the description if anyone is interested in joining our small community. Mr. Senator, you are going to 3D print the muscles as well? Yes, I will. I want to do the same thing with the muscle version there, so I just want to have everything that all the work that I put into it on display on my table. So hopefully it works out. But yeah, this is the plan at least. Sculpture Revive. Will you take a picture at the end of the print? I want to see how this looks after immediately print. I can take a few pictures. I will probably post updates on the Discord channel before I do a video about it or show it on stream. But I will make sure that I make presentable pictures of the entire process. So, Spark, instead of making these complex supports for the 3D print, why not just print it upside down? Because the top side will be very prominent. I will look at it mostly from this angle, and I will glue it here to the rest of the skeleton in this area, so it will be covered. And this is not an important area to look at, and I don't want to lose the details that I have here in the print. And this is still a test. I did a print of a skull before, and this one here, and this is where I added the supports on the top, just like you said. I just want to try it out to see if I can preserve the details on the top that I have here. The version that I printed out earlier doesn't have any surface details, so it's not that important to keep that at the top of the head. I can just sand it out and it's smooth. But yeah, that's the reason why I decided to add the supports this way. No, I don't have the pro version of Cheetahbox. I didn't know that there is one. This is the free one, and quite an old one if I'm not mistaken. I think there are already updates out there. How to know where to put the supports. A huge part is where there are islands. So if I go through the model here, you can see that maybe this is a bit hard to see there, but here, when I go from the bottom to the top, there are islands popping up, and this is where the print would be printed in mid-air, and I want to make sure that all of these spots are supported. This is the whole reason for, this is the main reason for supports, to give a connection to the base that is printed, or to the platform where the print is sticking to. So all of these little spots here that you can see as well on the spine that pop up, all these need to have supports so it can stick to the build platform. Alright, so this is the model for the skull. This is how I would send it to the printer next. And yeah, like I said, I will do the rest with the skeleton here on the side, then mirror the legs to the other side and put it on the printer. So yeah, hopefully I can get it done till next stream on Sunday, but probably not. Probably this will take a bit more time because of the printing. And I do have to replace my LCD screen on my printer, which is currently broken. Hopefully the replacement screen will be there in a few days, hopefully by tomorrow. But yeah, I will finish the supports and then I will jump over to the muscled version, the one that you can see here, and do the same thing as well. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. This is the end of today's stream. And yeah, if anyone is looking for a way to support my work, there is a link down to my Patreon page where you get access to the reference sheet and the live stream archive, as well as our small Discord community, access to that. So yeah, other than that, I will do the next stream on Sunday, same time as today, and we'll maybe wrap this whole project up. So thanks everybody for joining today. Thanks for all the new subscribers. I hope you liked the stream, and I will see you next time. So take care everybody, and thanks everybody for joining again. So see you next time.